High above the mountains, the skies stretched wide and endless, painted with clouds of silver and gold. The winds moved gently, whispering secrets only the heavens could understand in their eternal language. But on certain days, the sky grew restless, heavy with unseen tension that rippled through every drifting cloud. People on earth would look up, sensing something vast and powerful stirring beyond their mortal reach. It was in these shifting skies that the story of Zeus begins, a tale of harmony and challenge among the heavens. Zeus was not only a figure of thunder, he was a guardian, a keeper of balance in the realm of air and light. His presence was felt in the roll of distant clouds, in the calm after storms, in the gentle fall of summer rain. Legends say he listened to the skies as if they were a great orchestra, each note vital, each silence sacred. Yet even the mightiest guardians face moments of trial, when voices clash and harmony strains to breaking. This is the story of that trial, the moment when the skies themselves tested their unity under Zeus's watchful gaze. The skies above seemed calm, but beneath the clouds, whispers began to stir, low and uncertain in tone. The winds that once danced together now hesitated, their movements sharp and restless in every direction. A gray shadow stretched across the horizon, painting the heavens with a strange and uneasy silence. Birds paused in their flight, circling in confusion as the currents shifted without rhythm or pattern. The great canopy of air, once smooth and steady, trembled like a harp string struck by too many hands. Some said it was only the weather, a passing change of season. Yet others felt it was something deeper. The winds had voices, ancient and eternal, and those voices now murmured with doubt and discontent. The north wind pushed cold strength across the skies, proud and unwilling to yield to gentler breezes. The south wind rose in reply, warm and soft, longing to cover the world in comfort and light. The west wind whirled in with sudden bursts, carrying dreams of new paths and restless horizons. The east wind spoke quietly, calm and thoughtful, pleading for balance, but its tone was almost lost. Together, these voices clashed, not with blows, but with sound and motion that made the skies shiver. Clouds gathered thick above, caught between currents that pulled them apart in endless tug and strain. Lightning flickered in the far distance, not in anger, but as a warning. A spark of imbalance revealed. The harmony of the heavens, once certain, now wavered, fragile as glass under unseen weight. Mortals below watched the skies, uneasy, sensing storms that carried more than mere rain or thunder. Farmers paused in their fields. Sailors held ropes tight. Travelers slowed to read the patterns above. Every life beneath depended on balance in the air, on rains that came gentle, on winds that stayed kind. Yet the winds seemed blind to this, caught in their struggle, each seeking to prove its own importance. The north wind boasted of power, claiming strength would shield the earth from harm and weakness. The south wind answered with warmth, declaring life itself could not bloom without gentle care. The west wind swept in bold, urging change, insisting that without movement, the world would wither. The east wind sighed for peace, reminding the others that no single voice could hold the sky alone. But none would yield, and the sky grew heavier, a place of debate without conclusion, without rest. Zeus watched from his high throne of cloud, silent, his eyes tracing every shift of wind and light. He had known storms before, tempests of anger and floods of power, but this was something subtler. It was not rage that moved the skies, but pride, a quiet insistence that threatened unity at its heart. Zeus listened, patient, for even discord could be a teacher if its lesson was brought into the open. The air hummed around him, filled with voices overlapping, a chorus out of tune, straining to be heard. Each gust of wind carried its own truth, yet truth alone, unshaped, could scatter instead of bind. Zeus knew the skies must find a rhythm again, a way to move not as rivals but as companions. For the world below could not thrive if the heavens above forgot the song they were meant to sing. And so the whispers continued, winds circling, clouds darkening, a stage being set for choice to come. The first act of the tale had begun, not with thunder's roar, but with the uneasy murmurs of the air. Every breath of wind seemed to ask the same question: who will guide us, and how shall we move on? High above the restless clouds, Zeus stood watchful, the guardian of skies, where balance was more precious than power. His throne was not of stone, but of shifting light, woven from winds and clouds that carried his timeless presence. He did not rule with a fist of iron, but with patience, guiding each element as a conductor shapes a song. Every breeze, every spark of lightning, every drop of rain had meaning in the great design he cherished. The skies were his domain, not to dominate, but to nurture, so that earth below could breathe and thrive. Mortals often saw only thunder, but behind the flash lived a wisdom deeper than storm or roar. Zeus carried the burden of listening, of hearing voices that even gods could not always calm with ease. The north wind's pride, the south wind's warmth, the west wind's change, and the east wind's calm pressed on him. Each claimed its truth, each demanded space, yet none saw the full picture of the sky's greater need. Zeus breathed deeply, letting the sounds wash over him, testing his patience, weighing his next step. He knew the skies had once sung together, each note distinct, yet flowing as one melody of creation. Now the melody faltered, broken into fragments that clashed like scattered waves on a stormy shore. Zeus had been there when the skies were first born, when winds first found their names, when light met rain. He remembered the moment he lifted the heavens high, shaping their rhythm, setting their sacred order. The winds had sworn to serve life, not themselves, to weave weather as gift, not as contest of will. Yet centuries had passed, and pride had grown like vines, twisting the promise until it was strained. Zeus did not frown with anger. Instead, he felt the weight of disappointment, heavy but quiet within him. For pride was not evil, only misled, a spark that could burn or warm depending on its guidance. He rose slowly, his voice silent, but his presence enough to steady the trembling clouds around him. The winds paused for a moment, feeling his gaze, though they continued their restless murmurs in the distance. Mortals below could sense him too, in the hush between storms, in the stillness that follows thunder. They told stories of Zeus, not as destroyer, but as protector, one who balanced chaos with calm. Children in villages pointed to the skies, saying the thunder was his call, the rainbow his smile. Zeus carried these hopes gently, never forgetting that his strength was tied to the trust of the earth. He stepped forward upon the cloud, his form vast yet kind, a guardian who bore no blade or spear. His power was in order, in the unseen bond that turned storms into rain, lightning into renewal. Even the stars waited for his decision, glittering faintly in the shadows of day, listening in silence. The moon, hidden but near, felt the same tension and cast her quiet glow to steady the heavens. Zeus raised a hand, not to strike, but to calm, and the winds slowed, curious of his intention. He spoke not in commands, but in reminders, calling them back to the vows they once swore together. The north wind's pride softened for a heartbeat. The south wind leaned closer. The east wind stilled. Only the west wind swirled in restless arcs, still eager for change, though its rush slowed slightly. Zeus did not yet demand peace, for true peace could not be forced. It had to be chosen freely. He chose instead to watch, to listen longer, letting each wind reveal the truth it held inside. For even in discord, there was wisdom, and Zeus knew the skies would find harmony again in time. He would be their guide, not their tyrant, a guardian who taught by patience and the gift of balance. And as he stood, the heavens above seemed to wait, holding their breath for the choice yet to come. The winds circled, restless, their voices growing louder, as though the skies themselves were filled with debate. The north wind spoke first, its breath sharp and cold, declaring that only strength could bring lasting order. It swept down with icy whispers, proud to freeze rivers, proud to remind the world of its firm control. The south wind laughed softly, warm and gentle, insisting that life thrived best under comfort and kindness. It spread warmth across the air, weaving dreams of harvests rich, of blossoms open wide under tender Sunday. The west wind swirled with sudden bursts, bold and impatient, urging change as the key to true growth. It carried scents of distant lands, promising journeys, discoveries, and futures not yet written by hand. The east wind answered last, steady and calm, speaking of balance, of peace in rhythm and restraint. It whispered of patience, of wisdom found not in excess, but in the harmony of all voices together, yet none yielded, their tones clashing like overlapping songs, breaking the sky's melody into fragments. Clouds twisted, pulled between directions, heavy with uncertainty, unsure where to flow, unsure how to move. Lightning flared in the distance again, not with fury, but as if the heavens blinked in uneasy thought. Zeus listened from his seat of cloud, his gaze steady, his patience tested by the wind's relentless pride. He felt the weight of their truths, for each voice carried meaning, even if tangled by its own desire. The north wind's strength was needed to guard, the south wind's warmth to nurture, the west to renew. The east's calm was no less vital, a steady reminder that life could not flourish without balance. But pride had blinded them, each believing their gift was enough, each deaf to the needs of the whole. Mortals below looked up at the shifting sky, uneasy, sensing a storm that spoke more than weather. Children clung to their mothers, asking why the winds fought, while elders whispered of omens above. Sailors at sea struggled with waves rising uneven, pulled by competing forces beyond their control. In the fields, farmers prayed for rain that would come gentle, not harsh, not delayed by dispute. The world was listening, waiting, for the skies to remember their promise and restore their sacred song. Zeus stood slowly, and the air stilled for a moment, clouds pausing as if to hear what he would say. He did not thunder commands, nor summon lightning. Instead, he spoke in a tone calm and steady. "You are all needed," he said, his voice echoing across the vast dome of air, soft yet unshakable. "You were not born to rule alone, but to weave together, each thread vital to the tapestry of life." The winds stirred uneasily, their pride resisting, yet their hearts hearing something they had forgotten. Zeus raised his hand, and the storm clouds parted slightly, revealing a glimpse of clear and endless blue. "Look below," he said, pointing to the earth. "They wait for you, for your balance, for your unity." The winds fell silent for a heartbeat, gazing down at rivers, forests, seas, and fields stretching wide. They saw children laughing, animals grazing, villages glowing with firelight against the coming night. For a brief moment, pride weakened, replaced by memory of their promise, their role as guardians. But then the west wind rushed forward again, bold and impatient, unwilling to let the silence last. "Change is life," it cried. "Without me, the skies would stagnate, the world below would wither away." The north wind bristled, answering sharply. "Strength keeps life safe. Without it, all is fragile and lost." The south wind sighed, its warmth spreading. "What is safety without growth? Without the gift of joy?" The east wind whispered firmly. "What is joy without peace? Without balance to hold it steady and true?" And once more, the debate rose, louder, stronger, filling the skies with restless currents and voices. Zeus did not silence them yet. Instead, he watched, knowing truth often revealed itself in struggle. The skies trembled, but within that tremor lay the seed of choice, a chance to find harmony again. The winds roared in endless debate, their voices rising higher, until the heavens themselves seemed heavy with sound. The north pushed its icy breath forward, the south wrapped warmth around it, the west spun wild, the east held calm. Zeus raised his hand, and silence fell, a pause deep and sudden, as though the skies themselves took a breath. He called forth the Sky Council, summoning the great guardians who had long shared the dome of heaven. The sun came first, blazing in golden strength, its rays cutting through the restless storm like a steady guide. The moon followed, pale and quiet, her silver glow softening the harsh edges of light and shadow alike. Then came the stars, countless and watchful, their tiny flames carrying whispers of distant wisdom and order. The winds gathered around, their forms restless, circling the great council as if afraid to be still too long. Zeus stood at the center, his presence vast yet calm, his eyes meeting each force with patient attention. "My children," he began, his voice rolling like soft thunder, "you have forgotten the song you once sang together." The sun shone brighter, answering with pride, "I give life to the world. Without me, there is only darkness." The moon's gentle glow shimmered, replying, "But without rest, without night, life burns itself away too soon." The stars flickered in unison, whispering, "We guide the lost. We are the map of eternity above all lands." The winds stirred again, their quarrels not forgotten, each eager to claim its truth before the council. Zeus lifted his hand, urging silence once more, reminding them that only one voice could speak at a time. The north wind stepped forward, its tone sharp. "Strength must lead, for without it, all else will falter." The south wind drifted warm. "Strength alone is harsh. Life grows best under gentle care and warmth." The west wind spun quickly. "Care and strength are not enough. The world must change, or it becomes stale." The east wind sighed, "And change without balance is chaos. The skies must flow as one, not as rivals." The sun flared again, challenging the moon. "What use is night when my light brings the fields to life?" The moon bowed her head but spoke firm. "Without me, your light would scorch unending. I cool where you burn." The stars shimmered louder. "Do not forget us. We keep the heavens ordered when both of you fade." The council grew restless, voices clashing, their truths colliding like waves upon a shore without end. Mortals below gazed upward, sensing the gathering above, their prayers rising on smoke and song alike. Zeus heard them, faint but clear. The voices of shepherds, sailors, mothers, and children, asking for peace. He knew the council's quarrel was not of malice, but of pride, each voice blind to its place in the whole. He raised his voice, steady and kind. "Each of you speaks truth, but truth alone cannot hold the skies." The winds stirred, uneasy, for they had never been asked to listen beyond the echo of their own desire. The sun dimmed slightly, the moon brightened, the stars flickered with nervous patience, awaiting his words. "You are not rivals," Zeus continued, "but threads in a single fabric, woven together for the world below." He pointed to the earth once more, where rivers, seas, and forests waited, fragile under the shifting skies. The council turned their gaze downward, seeing the mortals watching, hoping, and fearing the storm above. For a moment, silence stretched long and deep, broken only by the quiet pulse of the heavens around them. The winds looked at one another, unsettled, but the quarrel was not gone, still burning beneath their calm. The sun and moon cast glances of doubt. The stars glittered uncertain, the council unready for full harmony. Zeus did not demand a verdict. Instead, he allowed the silence to linger, heavy with the weight of choice. He knew the skies could not be healed in one moment, for pride was slow to bend and slower to fade. Yet he also knew the first step was taken, for they had gathered, they had spoken, and they had listened. And in that pause, in that fragile stillness, the path toward harmony began to glimmer faintly in the dark. The night deepened across the heavens, and the council still lingered, their hearts divided, their truths unblended. The moon shone brighter now, stretching her glow to calm the restless skies. Yet even she could not mend the divide. The stars whispered gently among themselves, a chorus of tiny voices, worried that the skies would fracture. Below, mortals prepared for rest, unaware of the fragile balance above. Yet their dreams carried quiet prayers. Zeus listened to those dreams, carried upward by winds, as though the earth itself was speaking through its children. He raised his staff, carved from the heart of the oldest oak, a symbol of wisdom rooted deeper than pride. "Listen," he said, his voice echoing across cloud and light. "The world below depends on what we choose here." The winds stirred uneasily, the north howling faint, the south sighing, the west restless, the east heavy with thought. The sun lowered his blaze a little, as if acknowledging that constant brightness could blind as much as it gave life. The moon held steady, her silver presence a reminder that even the strongest needed rest and renewal. The stars glimmered like patient teachers, urging their companions to remember the greater song of the skies. Zeus continued, "Mortals look to you not as rulers, but as guides, each of you carrying a light for their paths." He turned to the winds. "Sailors trust your breath, farmers pray for your rains, travelers follow your currents." The winds shifted uncomfortably, reminded of the countless lives that depended on their unseen hands. To the sun, he said, "You awaken fields, warm hearts, and remind mortals of hope each dawn." The sun flared softly. Pride gentled into humility, his rays falling warm rather than fierce. To the moon, he said, "You guide lovers, shepherd dreams, and guard children when the world grows quiet." The moon bowed gracefully, her glow steady, touched by the honor in Zeus's words. To the stars, he said, "You remind mortals of wonder, of their small place in a vast, infinite sky." The stars brightened, filling the heavens with glittering resolve, proud of their role in the endless night. Zeus lowered his staff, letting silence stretch, inviting each to feel the weight of their purpose anew. The council looked down once more, and for the first time, they truly saw the earth through mortal eyes. A shepherd guiding sheep beneath moonlight, a mother singing her child to sleep under starlight, a farmer waiting for dawn. Each scene was small, yet woven together, each bound to the skies above. Fragile, but filled with meaning, the winds exchanged glances. Their rivalry softened, their voices quieter, their pride touched by remembrance. The sun turned to the moon, and though his fire did not dim completely, it flickered with gentler respect. The moon offered her glow in return, not as opposition, but as complement. Shadow and light intertwined. The stars spread wider across the firmament, offering their silent promise to guide, not to dominate. Zeus felt the shift, small but real, like the first ripple of calm after a storm long endured. Still, he knew harmony was not yet complete. The skies had only just begun to listen to themselves. He raised his eyes toward the highest point of the heavens, where mystery lingered beyond even his grasp. "There is more to learn," he said softly. "For balance is not a single act, but a song sung endlessly." The winds bent their heads. The sun pulsed warm. The moon glowed calm. The stars shone proud, each humbled. And though the quarrel was not erased, its edge was softened, its flame cooled by memory of purpose. Mortals below slept soundly, unaware of the council's struggle, but touched by its outcome in peaceful skies. The earth rested beneath a dome of calm, the heavens stitched with moonlight, starlight, and the promise of dawn. Zeus stood silent, knowing the work ahead would be long, but comforted by the first step toward harmony. For in the vastness of the skies, even the smallest step of unity could echo across eternity. Dawn approached, painting the horizon in soft shades of rose and gold, while the council lingered in thought. The sun prepared to rise, but his light hesitated, unsure whether to blaze with pride or glow with patience. The moon began her slow retreat, yet she cast one last silver glance across the skies, as if offering counsel. The stars dimmed gradually, though their watchful presence remained, hidden yet strong, like quiet guardians of order. The winds shifted restlessly, their currents uncertain, unsure if unity was truly possible among their clashing natures. Zeus stood tall, watching the transition of night to day, the great exchange between moon and sun unfolding. "This," he said softly, "is balance. Neither dominates forever. Each must yield to the other in its time." The winds paused, sensing the weight in his words, their tempers cooling in the gentle breath of morning. The sun rose higher, golden beams spilling across seas and mountains, reminding mortals of warmth and renewal. Below, villages awoke to the light, fields stretching open, rivers glittering like threads of light weaving the earth. The moon faded, yet her retreat was graceful, as though she entrusted the world to the sun's bright care. The stars vanished into daylight, their quiet promise still lingering for those who remembered their night song. The wind circled lower, brushing the earth gently, carrying scents of dew, wheat, and the salt of the sea. Zeus turned to them again. Mortals depend not on your rivalry, but on your harmony. Do you see it now? The north wind whispered, colder but calmer. I bring strength to fields and chill to preserve what must endure. The south wind followed warmly. And I give life, helping seeds grow, turning deserts into gardens with soft rain. The west wind danced quick. I bring change, carrying new voices, new clouds, and new horizons for all to see. The east wind exhaled slow. And I bring calm, steadying journeys, guiding ships, reminding all of balance. For the first time, their words did not clash but followed each other, weaving like verses of a single song. Zeus smiled faintly, the corners of his gaze softening, for he sensed the first harmony in their divided tones. The sun, listening, added his light. Together you give breath to my fire, shaping the rhythm of day and life. The moon, still glowing faintly, whispered from the horizon. And you cradle my rest, so my night may protect. The stars, though unseen, seemed to hum, their silent music threading into the sky's new melody. The winds swirled gently, their voices lower, their edges softened, carrying peace rather than rivalry. Below, mortals felt the shift, though they could not name it. The skies above seemed lighter, calmer, kinder. Children laughed in the morning light. Sailors lifted their sails with trust. Farmers smiled at the promise of rain. Zeus lifted his staff, grounding it firmly, his voice clear. This is the path. Do not forget what you feel now. The winds nodded, their movements steadier, each carrying the memory of this fragile harmony. The sun brightened, not as a challenge, but as a promise, lighting the world with measured strength. The moon bowed in farewell, leaving a trail of silver wisdom for night's return. The stars faded fully, but their memory lingered in mortal hearts. In stories told beneath evening skies, the council dispersed slowly, their pride tempered, their voices quieter, their rivalry softened into reflection. Zeus remained alone in the heavens, his gaze vast, carrying both relief and the weight of what was still ahead. For harmony once found must be tended, like a flame that needs guarding, like a song that must be sung daily. The skies stretched endless above, vast and eternal. Yet for one moment they felt whole, a single breath united. And so, under the dawn of a new day, the first true note of balance was sung across the heavens. The day unfolded brightly, yet Zeus felt a stirring deep within the skies, a whisper not born of sun or moon. It came from the horizon itself, a low hum, ancient and vast, as though the edges of the heavens were alive. The winds tilted their heads, uneasy, sensing the vibration ripple through their currents like a hidden pulse. The sun flared in question, his rays searching, but they found no source to blame for the subtle tremor. The moon, though fading, lingered just enough to whisper, "Something beyond us speaks, something older than dawn." The stars, though unseen, pulsed faintly, their silence heavy, as if they too remembered what lay beyond memory. Zeus raised his gaze higher, past cloud and light, searching the farthest reaches where few dared to look. He knew the heavens stretched endless, but there were realms beyond even his rule, mysterious and seldom stirred. The hum grew stronger, and with it came a shimmer across the skies, like a veil rippling between two worlds. Mortals below felt it too, pausing in their fields, seas, and villages, their hearts thumping with sudden awe. Birds faltered in flight, rivers hushed their flow, even the trees leaned still, listening to the strange vibration. Zeus tightened his grip on his staff, knowing this was no quarrel of winds, no contest of sun and moon. This is a test, he thought, not of pride or rivalry, but of unity against a voice older than the skies. The winds circled closer, fear flickering in their restless swirls, each wondering what could silence their endless song. The sun dimmed slightly, cautious, his fire narrowing to a steady flame rather than reckless blaze. The moon's last glow trembled, her calm veneer broken by the weight of what she too felt approaching. The stars whispered faint, their unseen chorus a warning. "Remember, Not all that stirs seeks harmony. The hum transformed into words, slow and deep, echoing like mountains shifting or oceans sighing in the dark. "You keep balance," the voice said, "but balance is fragile. Can you guard it when the skies are tested?" Zeus answered calmly, his voice steady. "We are guardians, not conquerors. The skies endure because we endure together." The voice rumbled again, neither kind nor cruel, only vast. "Together, I hear division, I hear pride, I hear doubt." The winds flinched, for the truth of those words still lingered in their hearts, though they had softened their quarrel. The sun lowered his rays, ashamed, recalling his arrogance against the moon, his endless hunger to dominate. The moon bowed quietly, humbled, remembering how often she clung to shadow rather than share her wisdom. The stars pulsed faint, burdened by the memory of distance, their voices too small when unity was needed most. Zeus did not waver. "We are not perfect," he said, "but even imperfection can hold when bound by trust." The voice quieted for a moment, as if measuring the truth of his claim, letting silence press heavy on all. Mortals below knelt instinctively, sensing the vastness above, whispering prayers to the skies they did not see. Children clutched their mothers, sailors dropped their nets, farmers paused mid-step, all feeling the weight of unseen eyes. The winds steadied, their movements slowing, each drawing closer, uniting instinctively in the face of the unknown. The sun glowed firmer, the moon's last sliver lingered brighter. The stars' unseen hum turned stronger. Zeus raised his staff high, calling not with command, but with faith. "Stand as one. The skies are strongest together." The hum shifted, its harshness softening, now echoing more like a question than a challenge. "Then show me," the voice intoned. "Show me not in words, but in harmony that even storms cannot break." The winds joined in chorus, swirling as one, weaving north, south, west, and east into a single breath. The sun lent his fire, steady and warm, illuminating without burning, shining without blinding. The moon glowed softer, guarding the transition, her silver woven into gold, a bridge of calm between extremes. The stars shimmered faint but fierce, their unseen light lacing the sky's melody with eternal rhythm. Together they created not noise but song, a harmony so deep the skies themselves trembled with awe. Mortals below felt it, their hearts lifted, their fears eased, their souls stirred by a peace older than memory. The voice rumbled once more, fading. "Perhaps you can hold. Perhaps you are more than pride and quarrel." The hum dissolved into silence, leaving only the pure song of the skies echoing across dawn and day. Zeus lowered his staff slowly, his chest rising with both relief and determination for trials still to come. For though the test had passed, he knew the skies would be challenged again, and unity must be guarded always. Above, the heavens stretched wide, endless and mysterious. Yet for that moment, they shone in true harmony. The skies had grown quiet, yet the silence carried weight, like a pause between heartbeats waiting to resume. Zeus stood tall, but inside he felt the echo of the voice, vast and lingering, as if it still watched. The winds circled lower, hesitant, whispering to one another, uncertain whether peace or another storm would follow. The sun glowed steady, but his warmth bore caution, no longer bold, as though guarding against unseen eyes. The moon shimmered faintly in her sliver, steady and calm, though shadows around her seemed heavier than before. The stars pulsed in their silence, invisible but present, their unseen hum steadying the fragile threads of unity. Zeus raised his staff, its glow faint, more like reassurance than command, guiding the others into balance. He spoke gently. "We have faced storms of pride, and now a voice that questions our strength. Still, we remain." The winds hushed, each current leaning closer, no longer in rivalry but in quiet readiness to stand as one. The sun dimmed his fire slightly, respecting the balance, allowing warmth without dominance, light without arrogance. The moon smiled softly, her calm presence, a reminder that reflection can guide even in the darkest hours. The stars whispered faintly, "Harmony is not a single moment, but a song that must be sung again and again." Mortals below sensed the calm return, their hearts lighter, though they carried whispers of awe from what they had felt. Fishermen looked skyward. Farmers paused mid-step. Children tugged at their mothers' hands, asking what had happened above. Priests in temples offered prayers, thanking Zeus, thanking the skies, though none truly knew what had been tested. Zeus watched them from afar, humbled, knowing that their faith was fragile, built on harmony they could not see. The winds approached him closer now, no longer restless, but united, ready to pledge themselves to balance. "Lord of the skies," they said in chorus, "we will not quarrel as before. We see the strength of unity." The sun bowed his rays, admitting softly, "I burned too brightly, seeking to rule. Now I shine to guide." The moon lowered her glow humbly. "I hid too often in shadow. Now I will share light as well as calm." The stars twinkled faintly. "We have always been distant, but we will not be silent when harmony is at stake." Zeus felt their sincerity and smiled, though he knew promises were easy when danger had passed. "Unity must be tended," he reminded them, "not only in trials, but in each dawn, each night, each season." The winds swirled together, weaving a single current, carrying the pledge across mountains, oceans, and valleys below. The sun's warmth spread gently, touching mortals and beasts alike, a gift of strength without demand. The moon lingered longer, her silver glow soft but steady, easing the fears of those who traveled at night. The stars, unseen in daylight, whispered into the hearts of dreamers, guiding them with quiet songs of hope. Mortals rejoiced unknowingly, their lives lighter, their burdens eased, carried by the invisible harmony above their heads. Yet Zeus knew trials would come again, for the skies were vast, and not all voices beyond sought peace. He looked upward, remembering the hum, the vastness that had tested them, and wondered what lay beyond. Would the skies be tested again soon, or had they only been given a warning of what was to come? The winds asked softly, "Who was that voice, Father Zeus? Was it a foe, or a teacher from beyond the skies?" Zeus shook his head gently, his eyes deep with thought. "Not all mysteries can be named. Some must simply be met." The sun frowned faintly, uneasy. "Then we must remain ready. If harmony wavers, the skies will fracture again." The moon agreed, her silver glow calm. "Harmony is not the end of quarrel, but the promise to return to balance." The stars pulsed quietly. "Then let us bind ourselves to that promise, that no voice can unweave our song." Zeus raised his staff once more, but not in command, in blessing, sealing their vow across the heavens. The winds exhaled together, a single sigh that spread peace over oceans, mountains, and fields below. The sun brightened warmly, a gentle fire carrying promise, while the moon's glow lingered as shield of calm. The stars hummed faintly, unseen yet ever present, their rhythm threading eternity with quiet endurance. And so, the skies shone in harmony once more, fragile but real, a promise of unity carved in light and wind. Mortals slept peacefully that night, unaware of how near the skies had come to trembling, unaware of the vow above. Zeus gazed beyond the horizon, his heart firm, knowing unity was not the end, but the beginning of the true test. Dawn returned, painting the skies with gentle hues. Yet beneath the beauty, Zeus sensed currents stirring unseen. The winds moved softly, their whispers light, but their tone carried unease, as if they remembered the hum's warning. The sun rose proudly, yet even his rays bore restraint, glowing not with arrogance but with guarded strength. The moon lingered in her fading sliver, calm and knowing, her silver glow clinging to the edges of dawn. The stars, unseen, hummed faintly, their rhythm steady, offering quiet reassurance that harmony had not been lost. Zeus stood at the peak of Olympus, staff in hand, his eyes scanning horizons that seemed wider than before. The skies looked peaceful, but peace alone could not blind him to the weight of what lay beyond. The voice had left them, but its presence lingered, a shadow of vastness, an echo too deep to forget. The winds swirled together now, united. But their currents carried a question they dared not speak aloud. The sun lowered his glow slightly, thoughtful. Father Zeus, was our harmony truly proven, or was it only tested lightly? The moon tilted her glow toward him, soft yet firm. Trials may come gentle before they arrive in storm. The stars whispered faintly, what is tested once will be tested again, until it proves itself stronger than doubt. Zeus heard them all, his heart firm. Yet he too wondered what storm lay beyond the veil of silence. Mortals lived below, unaware, their days filled with labor, their nights with dreams, fragile lives cradled by the skies. Children laughed, fields flourished, rivers flowed. Yet even they felt a strange calm as though wrapped in unseen arms. Priests in temples spoke of balance, telling stories of light and shadow, of winds and stars, of harmony renewed. Sailors sang to the sea, farmers sang to the earth, yet all songs were lifted unknowingly into the skies. Zeus listened to their voices, humbled, reminded that harmony above echoed into the fragile hearts of mortals below. The winds approached, their tone gentle. We swore to stand together, but will we hold if storms rise again? The sun asked, glowing steady. What if the voice returns with more than words? Can we face what lies beyond? The moon's silver touched them softly. Strength is not only in facing storms, but in choosing not to break apart. The stars whispered faintly. Together you shine, apart you fade. Remember this, when doubt comes cloaked in thunder. Zeus lifted his staff, his voice calm. Unity is not a shield against storms, but the light that guides through them. The winds stirred gently, weaving together, their motion calm, no longer restless, carrying strength in shared breath. The sun steadied, his warmth balanced. A fire to nurture, not to dominate, a flame of shared guidance. The moon glowed faint but sure, her silver guarding shadows, teaching patience to those who walked through darkness. The stars pulsed unseen, binding eternity with rhythm, their unseen chorus anchoring harmony in silence. Zeus spoke once more. We cannot command what lies beyond, but we can guard what lies within the skies. The winds bowed softly. The sun brightened in ascent. The moon shimmered calm. The stars whispered agreement. Mortals below felt it in their hearts, though they could not name it. A peace flowing through their veins. Mothers held children closer. Sailors found courage. Farmers worked with lighter steps, all carried by harmony unseen. Yet Zeus knew harmony was not victory. It was a vow that must be renewed, a song that must be sung daily. The skies stretched vast, endless, carrying both mystery and promise, waiting for those brave enough to guard them. Zeus looked upward once more, his heart steady, knowing trials would come, yet trusting unity to carry them through. And so the day passed, bright yet watchful, a fragile peace, carved by the hands of gods and whispered by stars. The winds rested in calm, the sun warmed gently, the moon lingered softly, and the stars hummed faint in silence. Above all, Zeus stood as guardian, not of power alone, but of the harmony that bound heaven, earth, and heart. The night stretched long, calm, and vast, as though the heavens themselves wanted to cradle the fragile vow of unity. Zeus stood at the edge of Olympus, gazing outward, his eyes fixed on horizons mortals could never imagine. The winds swirled gently, weaving their currents into one, carrying whispers of harmony across mountains and seas. The sun rested beneath the horizon, yet his fire pulsed quietly, ready to rise again with balance, not arrogance. The moon glowed steady in her silver path, her calm presence guarding dreams and quieting the fears of night. The stars shimmered faintly, their unseen chorus humming softly, binding time itself in threads of eternal rhythm. Mortals below slept peacefully, unaware of the vast dialogues above, their dreams touched by harmony they could not name. Children dreamed of flying, sailors dreamed of calm seas, and farmers dreamed of golden fields beneath gentle skies. Zeus listened to these dreams. His heart softened, for the strength of the heavens was tied to the hope of mortals. He whispered, "So long as they trust, the skies must endure, for we are guardians, not for ourselves, but for them." The winds stirred close, murmuring, "Father Zeus, we will hold to our vow, for harmony is our gift to the world." The sun's fire glowed faint on the horizon, his warmth promising, "I rise not for pride, but to guide with light." The moon bowed her glow softly. "I remain steady, silver and calm, to soothe shadows and remind hearts of peace." The stars pulsed faint but firm. "We remain eternal, weaving our rhythm across time, to remind you of unity." Zeus smiled, though his gaze remained far, for he knew the skies were endless, and beyond lay mysteries unspoken. The voice that had tested them had withdrawn, yet its echo lingered, a reminder that trials would return in time. Not all storms are battles, Zeus thought. Some are questions, some are lessons, some are only shadows to pass. The winds listened and nodded, their movements steady, learning patience, learning that silence could hold strength. The sun flared briefly, then softened, learning that true fire guided life, not consumed it in endless hunger. The moon glowed calm, learning that hiding in shadow was not strength, but sharing glow could bring balance. The stars shimmered in rhythm, learning that even faint voices mattered when woven together into harmony. Mortals woke with the dawn, unaware of the lessons above, yet lighter, their spirits carrying peace from the skies. Mothers found comfort, fathers found strength, children found joy, all unknowingly lifted by the vow of the heavens. Zeus watched with quiet pride, knowing their unity was not only for gods but for those who lived beneath them. He raised his staff, not in command but in blessing, sealing their harmony into the rhythm of day and night. The winds carried this blessing far, through forests, over deserts, across seas, touching every corner of the world. The sun rose gently, his golden light wrapping the earth not in fire but in warmth, steady and nurturing. The moon lingered faintly, guarding transitions, her silver a quiet bridge between day and night, light and shadow. The stars pulsed faintly, their whispers reaching dreamers, reminding them of eternity, guiding hearts with unseen light. Zeus lowered his staff, his eyes soft. Harmony is fragile, but so too is glass, and yet it can reflect the Sunday. The winds laughed gently, their voices united, carrying joy across the earth in breezes that touched every soul. The sun smiled in his fire, the moon in her glow, the stars in their rhythm, all shining in shared purpose. And so the skies stood balanced once more, their unity not perfect, but steadfast enough to endure. Mortals sang their songs, prayed their prayers, lived their days, never knowing how near the skies had come to trembling. Yet they felt it in their hearts, the invisible peace above, and carried it into their simple, fragile lives. Zeus gazed beyond the horizon one last time, his heart calm, his spirit firm, knowing trials would come again. But for this moment, harmony reigned, and the skies themselves breathed in unison, vast, endless, and whole.